Good evening and welcome to the Leon Valley City Council regular meeting. Today's Tuesday, March the 3rd, 2020. It's approximately 11 minutes after 6. Thank you for your patience. We were a little late from our executive session. We do have a quorum. All City Council members are present. And if you'll please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to also welcome people who are in their homes or businesses who are watching our City Council meeting live streamed online. Please silence your cell phones. And then I'd like to also read a summary of our rules of decorum before we begin our meeting. The City Council chamber is a place where all people are treated with respect and dignity, citizens, councilors, staff, and visitors alike. Anyone desiring to speak shall be first recognized by the presiding officer. City Council members, staff, and members of the public shall not shout, display unruly behavior, distract with side conversations, use profanity, threat of violence, or disrupt the orderly conduct of this meeting. This includes speaking or commenting from your seat or using foul language as you exit the chambers. I would suggest if you feel you may have a difficult time controlling yourself to please sit in the foyer. No personal attacks on city councilors, staff, or members of the public shall be allowed. The presiding officer will warn the person that he or she will be required to leave the meeting if the disruption continues. Unfortunately, I cannot hear and see all that goes on in the chamber, but the rules of decorum also allow any counselor to help monitor the situation by calling a point of order. I hope we do not have to go there. Let's again be civil and treat each other with respect and dignity. Thank you, and let's begin with presentation number 1. Actually, presentation number 2. 2.1, presentation and discussion on the John Marshall High School traffic circulation patterns or changes. And we have our Public Works Director, Melinda Moritz, here this evening to present. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. And this is just a briefing for the citizens and the council of some changes, traffic circulation pattern changes on the streets that are surrounding John Marshall High School in the Monte Robles Park subdivision. And here is the school. This is Eckert Road. Here's Lobo Lane, Thunderbird. This is Stebbins down here, and then Bluebird Lane. The high school is undergoing a dramatic change. They're becoming a magnet school as well as a regular school right now. The construction is obstructing some of the sidewalks, and the future plans are going to eliminate some of the parking areas and walkways. There have already been several accidents in this area, and we're afraid that if something's not done to improve the situation, there's going to be more incidents and accidents, and some could be deadly. So staff met with the Northside officials, and we mapped out plans going forward. We also contacted the city of San Antonio to collaborate with them. So Northside created a short-term traffic circulation plan for the time period of their construction. They're going to install some swing gates with emergency access in front of the high school to prevent traffic from entering the area near the front of the building. They're going to assist with traffic control for the bus queuing. Leon Valley is going to install new left and right turn street striping at Eckert and Bluebird Lane. We'll also provide the initial traffic control and operations. And then the city of San Antonio is going to provide traffic striping on Eckert Road and new signal timing at Eckert and Bluebird. And here's the short-term plan for this. This down here is Eckert Road. Here's their existing, Northside's existing student parking lot right here. And so as you come in, the buses will come up here, and this will be their bus queuing area. There'll be temporary gates here and here to prevent traffic, ordinary traffic, from coming through this area. Then the buses will cruise down Bluebird and go into this parking lot area here, and then turn around and go back out off of Bluebird Lane onto Eckert Road. We'll put a do not enter sign here. There'll be a temporary parent drop-off in this parking lot on this side, and then we'll have a fire lane at the back, and then here's another temporary parent drop-off number 2 at the back of the school. For the long-term plan, Northside's going to assist in traffic control during the early stages. They'll remove the swing gates that are going to be in front of the school. Leon Valley will construct a concrete median at Robin and Lobo to prevent left turning by parents. And will also install left and right turn striping at Bluebird and Eckerd. And provide initial traffic control personnel. San Antonio will provide traffic striping on Eckerd, and then they'll revise the signal timing at Eckerd and Bluebird. And so this is the long-term plan for it. So here's Eckerd again down here. We'll install a sign right here that says right turn only for the parents. They'll come down here, pull into this parking lot, drop off, pick up kids, and queue. Then they'll be able to come through the front of the school and then go back out onto Eckerd Road. The buses will come in this way, come into this drop-off point and pick-up point here, and then go back out onto Eckerd Road. And so, as I said, Public Works would install a concrete median, provide do not enter, no left turn, and right turn arrow signs and striping. So we think it's going to cost about $2,700. We won't need a budget adjustment as it will be taken from current funds. And that's what I have for you. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
We also have Assistant Chief Ruben Salcedo here, can explain a little further.
Okay, very good. So with our new rules, we start with the citizens. Citizens you have heard, and our guest in the chambers, you've heard the presentation by Ms. Moritz. Do you have any questions on what you've heard so far? We'll address your questions first, and then it'll come to the council. Okay. I see no one. I'll ask my colleagues if you have any questions on the proposed plan. Yes, Councilor Hody.
Ms. Moritz, I was wondering, during the interim and then the final, and then compared to now, how is this going to affect the neighborhood?
It will affect the neighborhood. They're not going to be able to get through to Eckerd Road as easily as they are right now because we are going to stop the traffic in front of the school. They will have to go back through onto Stebbins Drive in order to get out onto Eckerd. Let me get the map up here. And so in this plan here, this will be shut down. And so anybody on this side will have to go back down here around to Stebbins and then come up Bluebird and then come out onto Eckerd Road. Once the temporary is over with, they'll be restored and they'll be able to use the front of the school again.
Okay, I was just wondering if we would need a little bit of traffic control back there the first week or so in it.
Leon Valley is going to provide some traffic control for them.
Okay, and will the residents be apprised of this as well?
Yes, we've gotten some of it out onto social media already, and I believe it's on our website, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I just had a follow-up question. When is this short-term plan going to begin, and how long will it take before the long-term goes into effect?
It has begun right now.
Okay.
They're in the middle of demolishing some of the buildings, and so it's going to take as long as the construction takes, and that could take anywhere from 6 months to 8 months. It depends on the weather and
Okay.
any
Lots of variables.
restrictions on the job site itself.
Okay, very good, thank you. So we don't have a definite time frame for the residents in the area to say, this will be finished in 8 months or a year. Okay, good, thank you. Councilor?
Mine was the same, Mayor.
Okay.
The time frame.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Charles?
I was just wondering if do you know what is the school adding to accommodate the magnet schools, the 2 magnet schools? Is it height, space, or?
I know there's a new library plan.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Chief. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my privilege.
Good.
With regard to your question specifically, they're putting in some new buildings. One of them is going to be a 3-story level building, which is going to be where the building is that's being demolished now. And then, of course, they're going to expand in the front. The library is already under construction, but the issue was that was a current drop-off point. And, of course, it was a little painful because they didn't have anything existing for a drop-off and pickup point during the construction and then even afterwards. So we had to kind of go back and get them to start from the beginning to give us a plan. But they're also going to take the fields that are in the front. They've got a softball field, They're going to move that to the back, so they'll have both of the fields in the back. Of course, the football field will stay there. I mean, right, who wants to move the football field?
Don't think you can.
Yes, so they're doing a lot of very good stuff there, but there's that side parking lot where the existing gym is now. So that parking lot will be completely gone. There'll be a building right there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Quite welcome.
Councilor Bradshaw.
So this drawing right here, where it says "Do not enter," the "Do not enter" sign, I'm assuming that that's facing north towards Thunderbird, so you can't come up where the red arrow is. That's one way. Is that correct?
Correct.
From Eckert, one
Right.
way. So if somebody comes down Thunderbird and they get to that "Do not enter" sign, how are they supposed to turn around if people don't know that?
Well, what we're going to have to do is they're going to have to go down Stebbins. So once
Right, but Stebbins is way up further south.
Correct.
So if they drive all the way down Thunderbird and they get to the end and it says "Do not enter," basically they're at a dead
But
end.
They'll have to turn around.
There'll be a marking at the stop sign up there, sir, that says, no through
no
traffic,
outlet. Okay.
and telling people to turn right. So the residents there should be the only ones going down there.
Right.
But they can only get to where the point is where it says do not enter. So all the residents will be advised, that they're gonna have to go around, but everybody else, it's gonna be all the way by the stop sign where the actual sign is gonna be to say road closed to through traffic, detour and the turn right. So if they go around that and try to go there, they've messed up.
Yeah, okay, so you're gonna put a road closure sign on that
Exactly.
lane. Okay.
Right.
That was my concern, is people drive down there and then they get there and then they're gonna be turning around in somebody's driveway.
And if they do that,
Right.
ignore it, because they probably will, then they're gonna have to turn around in somebody's driveways, which it's gonna end up being.
Okay.
I was just thinking so you're not going to be able to get to the football stadium on that street then, right? That parking lot, you're going to have to go around.
Yes, you're going to have to
Right.
come around, so you have to come in from Heaton Road.
Okay. All right. Just realize that with that stop sign there.
And ma'am, you're talking about that parking lot that's in the back?
In the
That
back,
parking lot's
by
no
the-
longer there.
By the football field?
Back here, this one back here, I'm sorry, right here, because they've placed all their temporary buildings back here. And so half the parking lot's gone, and this is now a parking lot really for, they're moving some of the parking, a lot of the parking up here is gone now.
Okay.
And all the parking right here is fixing to be gone.
Okay.
So
Didn't know
basically, back here is where all the students are going, and this whole area has temporary buildings in it now. And so the kids are actually walking across here all day long. So we really don't want people back there. They don't want them either, because it's a
Safety.
traffic issue for the
Sure.
kids, safety issue. So a lot of things have changed. Probably be a good idea if you go out there and take a look at it. We'll go out there and escort you around if you'd like.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think.
That's for the automotive, used to be out there?
Yes.
And the portables that are back there? Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. If you have a more specific timeline in the future, let us know. Thank you.
And I will say, this was already supposed to happen. They told us we're going to get started tomorrow, and that was, 2-3 weeks ago when I talked about it last, and they still haven't shut it down. So their timeline is, it can take, we don't even know when it's going to start. Because initially they told us it was going to start after spring break. Then they wanted to start it, and now it could be that they don't start it until summertime, because the kids and the traffic and all that stuff. So we just don't know. We're kind of at the mercy of them, and they're supposed to notify us the day before they start it, and we'll send something out.
Okay.
But that's what they did, is they notified us before, so we put it out on social media, and then they didn't do it.
Okay.
So we are still at the mercy of them and the construction and the companies.
So are we going to wait for them to start first before we put up all of our signs and what we're supposed to be doing?
No, they're the ones who are going to have to put up all those signs. These are the road closed and all that stuff, unless Melinda's
But I
worked
thought we
something
had
out.
some responsibilities that she
We
listed
do.
on that. Yeah.
Those are
we gonna-
paintings and stuff on the
Right.
ground.
Are we going to wait until they get started before we do that? That's what I
There
meant.
should be notifying us ahead of time, and we should be working on getting all
Okay.
those things. The ones that are, the painting and stuff on the ground is really not so much about this project as it is to have better traffic flow.
Oh, okay.
So
So it's not
we've been working on getting that done for
Okay.
quite some time.
It's separate from the project.
Right, but
Okay,
we
gotcha.
threw it in there saying, these are what we'll agree to, but we've said all along, having turn lanes, left turn lanes from both lanes would benefit all of the people in the neighborhood.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification. Do appreciate it. All right. We'll move then to agenda item number 3, which is the city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Get my cheaters on. We received notification that the city has met the standards for certification and is hereby designated a 2019 Tree City USA recipient. We will receive our celebratory materials directly from the Arbor Day Foundation sometime in March, is what the letter said. Our regional urban forester, is the title, will expedite delivery if we need them to, if we need all this stuff before our Arbor Day celebration. I don't know if you've noticed it yet, but Bear County and their contractors are starting on the halt gates. The halt gates have been something we have been working on for 3 to 4 years, almost as long as I've been here. I think I started a year after I got here. And so that is a lot of money in gates that we are getting, the automatic flood closure gates that we are getting at no expense to the Leon Valley budget, which is really a good thing. And I don't know how long it'll take them to install them all. They've had a couple that they've had a few minor issues with, but they are they're in Leon Valley now getting ours installed. So you will be seeing that activity. Also, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This amazing group helped clean out Leon Valley out by the Hebner Creek on Saturday. The creek catches a lot of debris. As you know, it has a 9.5-mile watershed area. They were met by our Public Works crew at the large parking lot at Raymond Rimkus Park, and our crew brought them the gloves and the trash bags and the little grabbers, as many as we had. The group left their bags either at the large parking lot or along the creek and along the creek bank, and then the Public Works crew went and picked all of them up on Sunday morning. So I really want to express our sincere appreciation to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who took this upon themselves to do that for the benefit of the community and the creek. That was a really neat thing that they did. I'd also like to introduce Eric Del Angel. Where is he? Can you grab him for me? Eric. Hi, Eric. Eric is the new Planning and Zoning Assistant Director. Associate Planner, sorry. Oh, that's right. We changed all the titles, didn't we? That's right. Oh, you weren't even here when we did that. You wouldn't know that, Eric. Anyway, Eric comes to us from Sunnyvale, right? Yes. Sunnyvale, Texas. And so I just wanted you to put, when we start talking about Eric, I wanted you to see who he was and have a name for a face. And I didn't know if you wanted to say anything, Eric, but I sure wanted to introduce you.
Yes, ma'am. Eric DeLangel. So I come from town of Sunnyvale. It's the most eastern city in Dallas County, just at 7,000 people. So this is a nice transition for me. I'm happy to be down here. Most of my family lives here. I'm just a few miles up the road in Big Bag, San Antonio. So
Okay.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Eric. Welcome. Also, Melinda would like a little bit of feedback from you all. She's wanting to do the mural contest that she talked to you about on the silos and the tower as well. Are you interested in possibly me going to the EDCD and maybe looking to incentivize it by like a $1,500 prize to the winners? Are you interested in opening it to all, or just, students or high school students? What about Leon Valley employees? Can they participate? Just need a little bit of feedback for the rules from this.
Would this just be for the design? To
That's
come up
correct.
for the design, right?
That's
The
correct.
first phase.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just want to clarify that. Okay.
Any thoughts on that?
I think it'll open it up wide. I really do.
Okay.
I mean, we have a lot
Would
of
that be
creative people.
Nationwide, because
Nationwide?
the artist that did the
Really?
Katy Tower is
Uh-huh.
actually from Oregon, Seattle area.
Serious? I did not know that. Well, why not? And why not incentivize it? I think 1,500 is not too bad. What do y'all think? Yes, Counselor Bradshaw.
I would like to limit it to the country of Texas.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just for, I think if we keep, Leon Valley is nice, but I think it's good to broaden it some if we can, like, UTSA, schools around, maybe get some participation from art groups and stuff like that. Open it up.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Hody? Put him on the spot.
Of course, Texas is good, and not beyond that. I think it's just fine. We should be able to find something within there. And as far as incentivizing it, I think that's okay also. people's time is worth something. So let's go ahead and figure out an amount and then go for it. And I think it should be open, schools, everything, but we just need to be able to get the word out.
Thank you. Counselor Alcacer.
I agree, even middle school, I'm not, elementary is extending it a bit, although
You never know.
some are good. But the problem is, I'd like it to be, like if you go to elementary, how do you say it's not the parent doing it? So anyway, I think we need to have rules that it has to be the person submitting it that has done the work.
So they just need to certify that they did the work.
Thank you. Counselor Rodriguez.
I think within Texas would be great. I'm sure we have some pretty talented people around.
How about incentivizing?
Yes, incentivizing, I think,
Very
would be a good idea.
Thank you. Counselor Charles.
Well, y'all all made mine simple. Texas, incentivize, open it to schools, middle school up,
Okay. All righty.
I just have
Thank
one
you.
thing to
and
add.
to all residents.
Yes.
I've looked at other mural art contests and things, and sometimes it's a team that submits, and sometimes it's a person that submits. And then also you
Team's
have
fine.
the silos and you have the tower.
Correct.
You could say you would award 2 prizes, one for the person who did the towers and one for the person who did the silos.
Okay, so the tower wouldn't just have our logo on it, like it already has our old logo?
I think the consensus from the council was that it needed to have the city's name on it, but also a mural.
Oh, okay. All right.
Facelift.
All right, a facelift. Okay, thank you. Guess I missed that. All right.
Then would it have to be 1,500 for each one? Because they're completely different, and the silos would take, to me, special work, but
And you could also even, what if you had 2 designs you liked, one for each silo? You could potentially do 1,500 times 3, right? So I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know how you feel about that.
we ought to get some good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm hearing, well, I guess what I'm hearing is you want to limit it to the consensus is to limit it to the state of Texas, to have the person or the group certify that they're the ones who actually did the work, middle school and up, and yes to incentivizing it. You times 2 or times 3? What's my consensus there? So that we can develop some rules for you.
Well, would we have 2 separate designs on the silo, or would we want them to have the same?
That's
I
up
don't
to you
know.
all.
I mean, I just
That's
don't,
up to you.
I guess. I
Maybe
have
when
no
you
idea.
looked at the art, you could decide that, right?
Yeah, because I don't know, maybe one would flow into the next, or
Mhm.
something would be, Yes,
So
sir.
what if we did something like $1,000 per prize, and you could do each silo and the towers? I don't know if the towers you'd want different because they're,
Right.
we might want some continuity there on the towers, but with the logo and stuff, or whatever design they come up with. But
So how about I do $1,000 incentives,
Times 3.
and exactly, times 3, and understanding that it may be $1,000 times 2 if you just use the one for the 2 silos.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yes, Counselor Hodey.
I don't know if I missed this or not, but the theme, is that going to be plainly stated, or is it going to be the sky's the limit?
This is a Melinda question.
We had put in there that y'all wanted some 1800s, early 1900s, Southwest Texas style, ranch style theme.
But
Okay, that's on
Melinda,
the silos,
I
right?
thought it came to the modern day. That's what they talked about progressing, not just old style.
If that's what you wanted, sure.
Well, each silo could be then and now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A then and now thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were going to do.
But then we'd have to have separate guides for the water tower,
I'm sorry.
separate guidelines for the water tower?
If you want the mural, it can be the same rules, 1800s to now,
Okay.
Or it can be imagination
or imagination for the tower, or for all
for the
three.
tower.
Just the tower.
Everybody agree on that? I mean, now who's going to, well, I guess
Melinda.
I was going to say, who's going to decide,
No,
You
I
said-
just said who's going to make the rules, Melinda.
Melinda's
Okay,
gonna
so
make
the
rules.
other thing I
Okay.
just heard in the consensus was for the tower, imagination, for the silos, maybe a then and now. theme, correct? Okay, just to make sure we get everything that you want in the rules that we draft. Okay, Crystal, if you'll, I wanted to draw your attention to some resolutions. We have been doing contract reviews, and we stumbled across these that I found were amazing. What's that? Right there. These contract reviews go back all the way to 1993 when Irene Baldridge was the mayor. If you take a look at the highlighted portion, which I guess maybe you can't see it on there, of the resolution and the pictures, but hold on right there, Crystal. Look at the second whereas.
No, it's from the city manager's
City manager's report.
But the subject matter should be on the agenda.
I've been all over the place on subjects on the city manager's report. Did you not want me to discuss an old resolution I found and why it relates to what the council just did? That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, well, I was looking for what you just discussed on the agenda, and I didn't see that either, and so that really wasn't.
No, so the way we've done the city manager's report all along is that it's open for whatever subjects that we've come up, that we've found that are not in the city manager's report that's sitting out there. This is like a supplemental report.
I would recommend that you only have discuss in the city manager's report what is on the agenda, so members of the public would be aware that that's going to be a part of the discussion. And I believe there's an attorney general opinion that says something to that.
Okay, then we'll need it, because we've never done the city manager's report like that, so we'll need to change that completely. In fact, I don't think there would actually be a city manager's report probably at that point. I don't think there would be anything to add, because the city manager's recommendation is in each of the agenda items.
Yeah, well, we probably should discuss this offline, but
Okay.
I'll tell you why it could be a problem.
Okay, no problem. So anyway, so do we not want to discuss this, the rest of the
My
report?
recommendation, yeah, like I said, I was just about the silos and everything. I was trying to find it on here. I didn't see it.
Okay, because we've got coronavirus still, we've got unzipped by KINS 5 still on the city manager's report. Do we just skip all of that?
I would recommend you do that, and in the future.
Wow, okay, we haven't done this before. Okay. I know something that's on the agenda. Saturday, Earthwise Living.
You bet.
The 9 to 1 o'clock p.m. at the conference center. So I hope everybody can join us. That's a neat event. And Mayor, what annual, 30 what?
31st, and it's 9:30 to
31st.
1:30.
Oh, I said 9 to 1:30.
9:30 to 1:30. And you have the flyer out there on the table. And I think it's going to be a great day. The weather should be pretty good. So we're looking forward to it. And it's free. And you get a lot of free things, and you learn a lot. And there's a lot of children that will be there for their activities. So
I know something
and
else. And
Spurs tickets will be given away too at the end of the day. So that's always a lot of fun.
I know something else is on the agenda. If you want to vote in May, you have to register by April the 2nd. And of course, today is Super Tuesday. You have 19 minutes still to vote. Today, we will know about many Texas statewide races and some local races, but you can vote anywhere. So if anybody in here has not voted, you can go right into this room next door and vote, and you still have 19 minutes. And that's on the agenda. So. Okay. The rest of the city manager's report, I just won't read. Okay,
All right,
thank
very
you.
good. Thank you. All right, so are there any questions for the city manager based on her report that she gave? We need to keep to what was just summarized. If you have any questions on that, please come to the podium and state your name and your question. Okay, seeing no one, are there any other additional questions from the council? Okay. Then we'll move then to agenda item number 4, which is citizens to be heard. If you have a question or a comment you'd like to address the council, please come forward, state your name and just generally where you live, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Thank you. Good evening and welcome.
Lynn Joseph, 6423 Trotter. I just have a question or a comment on the manager report. We had asked that all of the different committees and stuff be transparent and open. The last couple of years that we've done city manager's report, and I'd like to see that continued. Either if we have to put it on the agenda, but there's always additional things that comes up the day or a couple of days before the meeting that I think I speak for a lot of people. We'd like to see that continued. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if there's a catch-all that we can put on the agenda that would cover, something broad,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I can't control the 5 days between the report and today.
I
Yeah,
understand.
I will provide the legal
Okay,
opinion as to
very
what.
good, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, anything else? All right. Good evening and welcome, Mr. Martinez.
Benny Martinez, Seneca. I just am asking the city council and staff next week for the ethics committee meeting that it be cable cast. There are a lot of people that were really disappointed last month when they were expecting to watch it. People that can't come to the meeting expected to watch it on their computer. So please, I implore you guys to broadcast it and also post it, please. Just a notice on the calendar, to me, is not a proper posting. It should be on the regular. Something as big and as important as this should be posted like a normal council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bosley, would you address it? Because you and I just spoke about that today, and I learned something new. So
Right,
go ahead.
well, you just said it should be posted like a normal council meeting, but it is not a council meeting. It is an ethics review board committee. And so it's posted as such. And it isn't live streamed because they're not on Minute Track. Ms. Caldera did post the entire meeting on the ethics review board tab. So you can go back and see the meeting. Unfortunately, we can't live stream, or we could. Maybe Crystal could elaborate. I'll leave that up to her to talk about. But it is posted, and it is posted on the website. Next week's meeting agenda is posted already, where all committee meeting minutes and agendas are posted. Public meetings are all posted in a list and in the tabs for each committee.
Okay, so I guess what I heard you say is you can see that after the fact, not live.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Or you could come to the meeting, and then you could see it live.
There you go. All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Good evening and welcome. And if you'll state your name and where you live, please.
Thank you. My name's Garrett Heaton. I live in Brissa Strait, right up the
Oh,
well,
good.
I guess we're all
Okay.
local, right? First city council meeting here. I've been here about just over a year, and thank you for having me. I had a couple questions. One of them was, I noticed that we recently put in a bunch of sidewalk cutouts, and me and my wife and our new daughter are walking along, but we noticed that there's not any sidewalks in a particular stretch of road between Watercrest, on Watercrest between Blackberry and Wurzbach / kind of Hurley. I was wondering if there's anything that could be done about that. And that's my first question. And then my second one was, I just learned recently that the city of Leon Valley doesn't fluoridate their water, and I was curious if you guys have ever had, that you can remember or talk about, any discussion or action on that, either pro or con or anything along those lines. And those were my two questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Melinda in the pink shirt back here from Public Works is going to talk to you one-on-one.
Great,
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, then we'll move to announcements by the mayor and council members. Councilor Charles.
Thanks, everybody, for coming, and we appreciate your attendance and your input, and we hope you have a good evening and a rest of the week.
All right, Councilor Rodriguez.
Like Ms. Charles said, just welcome everybody tonight and everybody watching live. And also just to keep the people of Tennessee in your prayers for the tornado that hit today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Alcacer.
Yes, I don't know if in your neighborhood you've gotten Tiger yet to pick up the brush and all the appliances and things, but in our neighborhood, I guess we were the first because they were out there Monday morning, and they did a super job. I didn't hear them complaining about anything. Everybody's piles were a variety of things. Of course, some people had already cruised the neighborhood and picked up a bunch of things, which kind of normally happens. But they just did a really thorough job, and even just picked up minutia. And the only thing left is the people who had brush and that actually in the street. I guess when the street sweeper gets fixed, they'll be sweeping up what's left if it isn't washed away tonight. Hopefully we get enough rain. But anyway, thank you all for coming. Be kind to one another and keep smiling. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hody.
Also, welcome to everyone here and online, and hi, Mom. And we want rain tonight. Monica, you're welcome for me picking up some of the stuff in your neighborhood there. I found some good things. Not really. And on with the show.
Thank you. Councilor Bradshaw.
I also want to welcome everybody. A lot of first-timers here tonight, it looks like. So glad to see participation in the community. 2 weekends ago, I was able to participate, and a couple of other counselors were there at the first responders workout at Raymond Rickus Park, and it was very.
That's right.
It was a good workout.
It was intense.
Let's just say that. I was sore for a few days after that, so it was good. It's good to see everybody out and active, especially as the weather gets nicer. And I'm also aware of several of the citizens that are in the hospital right now, and I just want to send out thoughts and prayers to them, and please keep those that you love close. That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, yes, welcome to everyone as well, and I hope we get rain. Ditto that. And again, earthwise, rain or shine, so we hope to see you on Saturday. I failed to read a note that I had received from the Sign family, and it said, good morning, may I ask a small favor, please? Would you mind reading this kudos note at the city members speak session at the next city council meeting? The Leon Valley Public Works team and assistant city manager helped as noted below. Appreciate your public service, the Signs family. So this is the note. Leon Valley Public Works, thank you so much for cutting back the brush at the corner of Chaparral and Hebner. It's a very dangerous corner for us and all the high school teens and teachers that turn that corner every weekday. Well done, from Jay Signs. I wrote in the Lion's Roar, but you won't get that for about another month, but the Bandera Road project is moving. This is a very critical year. The actual the final design for what Bandera Road will look like in the next 20 years will be determined over the next year. So tomorrow we have a business forum that we will be reaching out. There's 2,500 businesses that have been invited along Bandera Road to come to this forum, and there's going to be one held in the morning at the city church and then one held in the afternoon to get the business support. So we'll keep you posted. There'll be a lot of community outreach this year, and I just wanted to keep you informed of that. And it is with deep sorrow and sadness that I announce the passing of Dr. Gail Monig, beloved wife of former council member Dr. David Edwards. Gail also served on several city committees over the past years. She's also survived by 4 children, 5 grandchildren, and 2 boxers named Louie and Cooper. Services will be held on March 13th at 10 a.m. at St. Dominic's Church, and may her soul rest in peace. Thank you. All right. With that said, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Agenda item number 6.1 through and 6.2. Any counselor want to remove any of those items for discussion? Seeing no one, may I have a motion and second to approve? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I move that 6.1 and 6.2 be approved as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Charles and a second by Councilor Bradshaw to approve consent agenda item number 6.1 and 6.2. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to agenda item number 7, ordinances. Just for those of you that are new to the process here, these are our second reads. We are a home rule charter city, and we have to have 2 reads. And agenda item 7.1 through 7.8 are all second reads, and we usually ask if there's any updates, but we do vote tonight. But again, if you have any comments, you can certainly comment on any of these agenda items as well. So with that said, Ms. Posley, if you'll please read agenda item number 7.1.
An ordinance approving a budget adjustment in the amount of $54,700 from the Stormwater Fund balance to purchase materials to construct a parking lot at the Shadow Mist Park located at 5487 Shadow Mist Drive, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. Good evening. Again, Ms. Moritz, are there any updates on this particular agenda item from the last read?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And are there any questions from our citizens and guests in the chambers this evening on agenda 7.1? Okay, seeing none, what is the pleasure of the council? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept 7.1 as written.
Okay.
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez and a second by Councilor Alcacer to approve ordinance number 7.1 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to agenda item number 7.2. Ms. Posley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley amending the Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 12.03, Parking, Stopping, and Standing, Section 12.03.006, Parking Restrictions on Specific Streets, to add Avedisia, I said that wrong again, didn't I? Avedisian and Shadow Mist Streets, providing an effective date and the revision with publication as required by law, and providing for conflicts provision.
Okay, thank you. And you have an update.
Yes, we have 2
Okay,
updates, actually.
very good. Thank you.
The first is to change the length of the designation.
Okay.
And so it's going to be both sides of Shadow Mist Road here, Avedisian here, and then all the way down Shadow Mist Road to our park property right here. And we'll leave this side open.
Okay.
The second change is that it would have been 30 signs, but then that would have caused this huge street clutter of signage. And so the citizens of Shadow Mist have asked if we could paint the curbs instead and maybe put just a few signs up, and it actually saves us money. It would cost about $2,000 to paint the curbs versus about $2,200 to put the signs up. So we save about $250.
Okay,
And so
very
those are
good.
the changes.
Well, good move on the citizens' part of Shadow Mist. Great, thank you. All right. Any questions from our residents and guests in the chambers this evening on agenda 7.2? Okay, and to the council, any questions?
I just want to make a comment. I appreciate you listening to the citizens because they much prefer the curb painting. Yeah.
Very good. All right. So, Ms. Charles, would you like to make a motion on this since it's your
I
neighborhood?
do make a motion that 7.2 be approved with the corrections or revisions.
I'll second.
Sorry.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilor Charles and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve 7.2 with the revisions as presented by Director Moritz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to agenda item number 7.3. Ms. Posley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council amending the general fund budget of the City of Leon Valley, Texas municipal budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $15,000 to provide funding for the Leon Valley 2020 Census Texas Census Grant received from the Communities Foundation of Texas, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. We have Rosie Amala, our librarian, here this evening. Are there any updates for this second read? No. All right, thank you very much. Any questions? This is a $15,000 grant for our census efforts here in Leon Valley, thanks to our library director. Any questions from either our visitors and citizens or our staff? staff, our council. All right. Seeing none, then we'll move back to the dais. Yes. Mr. Bradshaw.
I move that we approve 7.3 as written.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Bradshaw and a second by Councilor Hody to approve ordinance number 7.3 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you again, Rosie, for your efforts. Moving then to ordinance number 7.4. Ms. Posley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, amending Chapter 15 zoning ordinance to rename the zoning commission and establish a planning and zoning commission with associated authorities, rules, and procedures, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Milan.
Mayor and
Any
Council?
updates on this?
No, ma'am, no updates.
Okay, very good. Any questions, comments from our residents in our chambers, visitors? Okay, seeing none, we'll move back to the dais and ask for your input, one way or the other. Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
I move that we adopt number 4 as presented.
Okay.
A second.
We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Bradshaw to adopt ordinance 7.4 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to 7.5. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, amending Chapter 10 zoning ordinance to rename the zoning commission and establish a planning and zoning commission with associated authorities, rules, and procedures, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Any updates, Mr.
No, ma'am.
Milan? Okay,
No updates.
thank you. And any questions from our residents and visitors? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move back to the dais and say the pleasure of the council on this. Yes, Councilor Rodriguez.
I move that we accept 7.5 as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez and a second by Councilor Charles to approve ordinance number 7.5 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving to ordinance number 7.6. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, amending Section 15.02.113 of the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances regarding noticing and scheduling requirements for public hearings before the Zoning Commission, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Director Milan, any
No,
updates?
ma'am, no updates.
All right. Any questions from our citizens, visitors? Seeing none, the pleasure of the council, please, on 7.6. Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
I move that we approve 7.6 as presented.
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Charles to approve ordinance number 7.6 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving on to ordinance 7.7. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council granting a specific use permit for a funeral home at 6401 El Verde Road, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Any updates on this particular ordinance?
No, ma'am. No
Okay.
updates.
And any questions? I believe, do we still have did I see the gentleman that's? There he
Mr.
is.
O'Haran
Hello.
is-
Yes,
is
how are
here.
you? Okay, so this is the day we're going to vote on your SUP. All right. Any questions from our citizens, visitors? All right, on this agenda item, so we'll move back to the council. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going to, sorry.
Okay.
I was just going to do this for you real quick.
Oh,
Because the guy's here.
oh, okay, very good, thank you, I appreciate that.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Okay, Councilor Rodriguez, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 7.7 as presented.
Okay,
I second.
all right, we have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez and a second by Councilor Charles to approve ordinance 7.7 as presented. Any further discussion? You had something?
I just couldn't get the location in my head.
Oh, it's right across the street. It's right across the street, the Dr. Colleen Kennedy's old building, right there. Yeah, right. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. And welcome. We're so glad you're here. Thank you. Okay. Moving then to ordinance number 7.8, Ms. Pasolay, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance granting a zoning change from R1 Single Family Dwelling District to RE1 Residential Estate District on Lot 1 and Lot 2, Block 1, Grass Hill Estate Subdivision, generally located on the south side of William Rancher Road and east side of Aids Drive, providing for repeal or severability, savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Any update?
Evening, Mayor and Council. I don't have any significant updates other than the fact that it's been nearly a year since I first brought this item to y'all. So I just wanted to discuss a little bit as a recap, and explain why it's been a year, and to just make sure to highlight associated activities with this particular zone change so everybody has a full picture of the property and what the next steps are. This will be the second reading for the zone change for the approximate 23 acres located just south of William Rancher, east of H Drive. This is all city-owned property, and the city acquired this property in 2017. As staff, we've been working on this at a staff level. Public Works Director Moritz started the plating process for this property with the intent to dedicate some right-of-way, additional right-of-way, particularly along Aids Drive and dealing with easements and utility lines there. And also looking at other issues in that area on this property. The property is completely undeveloped. It's been undeveloped. It's been rural due primarily to the fact that much of the property is located in the 100-year floodplain. Historically, this property has been zoned R1. And so the policy on this property for some time now has been to retain and protect the rural character of this property, particularly because of the fact that it's historically been environmentally constrained. And so last year, in looking at what's the best way to preserve the vision of the city and the policy of the city for any property, particularly property that's city-owned, is to initiate zoning on that property that makes sure to achieve the result that you're wanting. And so as the policy for this property is to keep it rural, we didn't have a rural zoning district at that time, and so that's why we went through the process together to create the RE1 rural residential estate district that requires a minimum 1 acre lot size. So we created that zoning district partially in the intent of being able to zone this property, and then once the city sells the property, it's zoned, and if anybody wanted to change that, they'd have to come back to the council for that. It went to the Zoning Commission. The Zoning Commission recommended approval of this zone change, and then brought it to council. And there's really a few ways to zone a large piece of property. One is to do it through meets and bounds, another is through lot and block. And so since we were platting, my intent was to bring it to the to the council for a first reading, intent to wrap up the plat. Well, we've had a few things come up with the plat in the meantime. Number one, we went and revisited the right-of-way dedication. There's some electrical facilities over there, so we had to finesse that a little bit and figure out what the long-term was going to be for the road alignment. And also, I think about 3 months ago, Commissioner Justin Rodriguez pledged some additional county funds to do some drainage improvements anywhere in the city, and so it was the pleasure of the council to opt to use those funds for drainage improvements in this area. And the council also dedicated an additional, I think, $312,000 of city funds to potentially spend on top of that for these necessary drainage improvements. And so those are just some additional progress that we've made on this particular area, and those are improvements that will definitely affect this piece of property. So that's kind of the whole big picture on this piece of property from start to where we are now. And of course, since the plat's been held up, my logic was to wait until we have a clean legal description to finally do the zoning. So we're still finalizing the plat right now. We're still wrapping up some things. We're looking at the drainage. Our city engineer's looking at that. So, but this has been kind of going on long enough. So the intent is to go ahead and just finish up the zone change. We have a lot of deeds, the city acquired, so all the deeds are attached. So it isn't the cleanest, legal script or rezoning, but we're able to do that. And so that way we're not holding up the zoning until we get the plating done. So, but the city attorney says it's fine to go ahead and do a second reading, even though it's been a while. So that's the full story, the full picture on this piece of property, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Brandon, I have a correction, Mayor, if I might.
You sure may.
Yeah, the council did not vote on where this flooding funding was going to go. Bear County told us where it was going to go.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to make sure that, it didn't look like that was a council decision, because it was not.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, he was given several projects, and he chose
Correct.
that project.
Right. Had
for our
nothing to do
city.
with the council.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you for the update. Let me ask the citizens and guests in the chambers if you have any questions on this, since Mr. Milan went a little bit more detail just as a summary. Okay. One of my questions, if there's no other questions, and I'll bring it back to our council, is is it our intention to get the drainage improvements completed first before we develop the property? Or can you do, how is that going to work?
Great question. The intent is to gain a better understanding of how these drainage improvements are going to affect this property, particularly regarding the floodplain. The improvements will reduce the amount of floodplain on this property. And anytime you plat a piece of property that has floodplain on it, usually you need to look at dedicating easements and on that property for drainage purposes. So nobody can build on it. I mean, we have a floodplain development process, but anytime you have floodplain or floodway on it, you put an easement on the plat that says this land can only be used for drainage purposes. So that's the intent is to do the drainage analysis of what the impact of the drainage improvements will be on the property, put the correct easements on there, and then we can get the plat approved, and then potentially convey the property to an end user. And then when that end user buys the property, they'll probably have some sort of development plan, and they'll probably replat the property at that point in time and go ahead and create individual lots. The plat that the city is initiating is not creating multiple lots. It's just creating two. And I think
two big pieces.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I attached it on here. But really what the plat is going to do is it's going to create one lot up here, and it's going to dedicate right away to the city here, and then it's going to create one lot down here. So it's really going to create two big lots, and then when it's sold to a developer or somebody, maybe it'll be sold to somebody that just wants to put one house on it. We don't know. That would be allowed. But if somebody comes in and wants to create 1 acre lots, they'll do a replat, and then they'll probably have some sort of drainage easement through here, maybe some sort of detention structure in here, and then they'll have a few 1 acre lots here, 1 acre lots, and then 1 acre lots, and they'll have to make street improvements.
Because a portion of that property is already out of the floodplain, right? Was it the 10 acres of Mr.
Correct.
Elizondo was
this
already
part's out of the floodplain.
Yeah.
And then the floodplain kind of goes through here like that.
Okay.
A lot of that piece is in the floodplain.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that answer. Yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
So if I remember correctly, and I wasn't on the council, I think most of us weren't on the council back when this was first read in February of last year. But the RE1, is it a 50-foot setback from the building?
I think we
from
did
every direction?
I think we did it, yes.
So my concern with that is you say, there's 23 acres and they're 1 acre lots. You're probably not going to have 23 1 acre lots here just because of the way it fits. But, if we say it has to be 50 feet from the setback, that may move some people's homes closer to the floodplain, putting them in the middle of the lot where they'd rather be on a higher area, just the way the layout would be. So how would that work if we zone it RE1 and then they'd have to get a zoning exemption to be able to build closer in the setback?
Well, first, I think, again, that's one of the intents of the drainage improvement or the drainage funds that the county's giving us is to improve the drainage situation here, which is going to enable, I would say, a pretty good reduction in that floodplain. The process to do that is through a LOMR. That's an acronym for a letter of map revision. And so you have to go through that process. That might just be a process that we go through, even, before the plat is done. I don't know what the timing is on that. And so what that does is that significantly reduces the floodplain, which will create more buildable land on those lots at that time. Now, maybe a developer is going to come in and say, well, I need more of a reduction, then maybe they can create some sort of, there's always the ability to re-engineer the drainage and change the floodplain per what you've engineered, but then there's always the LOMR process that you have to go through that before you can actually start building and in some cases replatting. So I think you have a great question. You're asking the question, what's the developability of this property? I'm not really sure at this time based on, the amount of floodplain, but that's maybe something that as we take next steps with the platting, that's definitely something I can confer with the engineer about and say, hey, based on what you can see, what are the drainage constraints on this property and how many lots can we fit on? Melinda has already kind of went through some of that process in the past, but I think that's a great question. It's a city-owned piece of land, and we kind of need to know what's the viability of this property for the zoning that we're applying. So I don't know right now.
Okay, and then what is that building that's in our property, in the property of the city? Is that a house there, or is it?
I think that is a house. It's an old farmhouse.
It's a semi-destroyed house that the fire department and the police were going to use it for training. I don't know if that's still in the works, but.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
Good observation. Yes, Councilor Hody.
So my question is, if this is land, as I recall, this has been going on in some form or fashion for a number of years, and if we approve RE1, I know you can't guarantee that a developer is going to come in here and say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, or a single person, as you said. But, how long do we give this to happen? If there's no bites, if you will, how do we put it on the market? And then after a while, if it just sits there, can the council at that point change it in some other way?
Yeah, I think, Melinda, thanks for stepping up. Before I forget my answer, I would say, in my experience, what's probably going to happen is the city's going to zone this RE1. It's going to be on the market, and developers are going to look at it, and they're probably going to come to this council, or they're going to call me first and say, hey, what are the chances of me getting a zone change so I can pack houses on this thing? And I'll probably say, the council said pretty clearly they want large lots on this. And then, of course, I'm never going to tell somebody, no, you don't get to go to zoning commission or council and ask. I'm not going to say you don't get your chance to ask. So maybe they'll bring that zone change, or maybe, I'll confer with the city manager, and maybe we'll give you all an update. I don't know how that works in executive session of, potential bites that we've gotten on the property. I'm not sure. That's a good question about how we're going to handle this. So.
Okay. Ms. Morse?
The only thing I have to add to that is that you can do it three ways. You could do concealed bids, you could do an open auction of the property, or you can hire a broker. Hiring a broker costs money. And then once you pick one of those ways, then it's going to be up to the council to determine how long you want it on the market.
Okay. I have had someone contact me about that property. He hadn't called me back, but I saw him at a meeting and asked about that. So there might be some interest. I don't know.
Well, for the record, I'm for 1 acre lots. Imagine that.
Definitely.
And,
well, I think with us being so close to the medical center, I think that's going to be a big attraction for doctors and medical that want to have a nice, lots of, and be close to the medical center. That's my thinking. So I agree with you. Yes. Would y'all like to say? Yes, Councilor
And it's
Charles.
just consistent with the other neighbors, bigger lots, so.
Okay, Councilor Rodriguez, no? And Councilor Alcacet, this is your neighborhood. You're pleased with the large acres?
Right, we've fought it for years to keep it large area. They tried many different ways already, Brandon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but the community wants the large acres. We have people in the community who in the neighborhood who actually want to move into it when it's ready. So I think the market is there. That is what we have never tried, and with the change in the drainage improvement should make a huge difference in doing it.
Okay. So, would you like to make a motion to approve 7.8?
I make a motion that we approve 7.8 as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve 7.8 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. It's very exciting, and, you know, as I'm going through, oh, my goodness, eight ordinances. It's a lot of work. Y'all have been very, very busy, very productive, and thank you for all the work.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you bet. Then moving to regular agenda 8, these are our first reads. We are going to, because we have our applicants in the audience, if there's no opposition from the council, I'd like to move 8.2 first, and then take 8.1 second. Is that the consensus of the council? All right. So Ms. Postley, if you'll please read 8.2.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council granting a specific use permit for entertainment indoor use at 6501 Bandera Road. More specifically, the tenant suite labeled as 6565 Bandera Road, providing for repeal or severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mayor and
Welcome back.
Council.
Yes.
Sorry for all the addresses there. We have to send notice based on what the address is in BCAD, and then all of our shopping center, instead of having suites, they actually just have another address. So that's what we have to have all the addresses. So this is a specific use permit for entertainment indoor. I know council is pretty experienced on these particular SUPs. The applicant is Mr. Arthur Onegru. He is here this evening in the front row with his wife.
Good evening.
And they are looking to open up a special events facility here in Leon Valley, particularly over at Seneca Plaza. And I'll jump over to the map here. There you go. So we're all familiar with the small little courtyard area at Seneca Plaza. There's a 4,500 square foot suite there that actually has access from the courtyard and access as well from the side. And so their company is the Prince Entertainment. They plan to conduct parties of all types, weddings, other kinds of events. They do anticipate the consumption of alcohol at these events. And as council knows, we don't have a classification in our zoning code for special events. That's just considered to be entertainment indoor. And so that's what this specific use permit would allow for. There you go. There's a site photo. Zoning, the property is zoned B2. It's also located in the Sustainability Overlay District. The property does abut Seneca East, the main Seneca subdivision. And so we did send out notice to all the property owners within 200 feet. I got some calls on it with people that had some concerns, but I did not actually receive any just letters of opposition directly, stating we are opposed to this. But we did have some people that called with questions. Got a call from the property owner here at this particular lot, and we got a call from the property owner at this particular lot as well, just with questions. And so,
can you say what it was related to, like noise?
Noise and just general events, and really just having concerns about the fact that the property is located, kind of close. I, told them, well, you're still separated by another facility. Let them know that we do have noise ordinances in place. Pretty respectable noise ordinances. You have to keep it below 0.65 decibels in the evening. So, if things get a little loud, then we have police provisions to take care of that. And so, like I said, any SUP that comes in, the purpose of an SUP is it's really to make sure to look at the impact. If something in our zoning code states that you can have it with an SUP, it's generally acknowledged this could be a compatible use, but there may be some aspects of this use that have some impact that we need to look at a more detailed level, at a policy level or at a legislative level. So in this particular SUP, definitely we're looking at traffic impact, we're looking at parking, and sort of the intensity of the use. That's a pretty large facility. We've done another one of these. The most recent one was 1,500 square feet, so that's going to be a smaller space. This is going to be a larger space, so it's going to have more traffic impact, probably take up more parking. But looking at this at a planning level, these events are generally going to be held at night when the retailers are not there. So, my opinion, we have a shared parking opportunity over there to keep this property active and activity over there. In terms of traffic impact, the facility has got multiple exits out of it, and so it's designed for retail. It's designed for, more frequent uses. So I don't have any concerns with traffic impact. Only concern really, as I would say with all these, is the alcohol consumption. When it's different than alcohol being served at a restaurant, where food is the primary purpose of going there, and the alcohol consumption may be accessory. Not everybody's drinking. So with that, it's customary for staff to recommend, and also the zoning commission too, to recommend that at least one certified police officer be present at all events that have alcohol being served. That was a recommendation of the zoning commission on this. So, like I said, the things that we looked at here, is the facility equipped to handle the impact? Is this use generally compatible with other retail uses? Yes, it's a special events. It's bringing activity to this area. And like I said, we have noise ordinances in place. We did have a lot of discussion about this at the zoning commission level. We usually have a lot of unanimous votes. In the past year, we've had mostly unanimous votes. So for the first time, we did have a few dissenting votes on the commission. The commission recommended approval on a vote of 5-2 to approve it. Commissioners Rouse, Smith, Alonso, Power, and Fowl voted in favor, and Commissioners Blackmore and Commissioners Profit voted against. Their concerns, I don't want to speak for them, Commissioner Blackmore's here, but their main concerns were proximity to the Seneca neighborhood and potential compatibility issues with a use like that being near the neighborhood.
Okay.
So with that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, very good. So, can I just ask you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. Yes. I'd like to introduce, can we introduce the applicant, please?
Absolutely.
Come on up and just say hello and thank you for being here. And did you have anything to say to the council and to our citizens before we open up the public hearing?
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. My name is Arthur Honora, and I live on a northeast crossing by Eisenhower.
Okay.
So,
very good. All right. Thank you very much. We're glad you're here. We do have a public hearing, and so we'd like to hear from the people who are our residents and visitors in the chambers this evening. And at approximately 7:26, I'll open up the public hearing. And if you'd like to weigh in on this particular SUP, please do so. Yes, you can. If there's a question for you, we can ask you to answer it, but we'll hear from our citizens. Thank you.
Benny Martinez, Seneca. I support this. This venue has been a party room, or the same type of use that he wants to put it for years. Until a couple of years ago, it was shut down for code violations. But it's been operating here in Leon Valley for several years, and with no problems, no complaints from the neighbors. So I support it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone else wanting to speak on this issue. So at approximately 7:27, we will close the public hearing, and I will ask if my colleagues have any questions. Yes, Councilor Hody.
Yes, Mr. Martinez is correct, because I attended a wedding there, and it was a nice setup. Because could you go back to the Brandon, back to the picture of the actual overhead view? Okay, so anyway, the courtyard's out there in front, and as I recall, it was either hot or cold or something, so we had to step out. But the area in front is not for setting up bands or anything like that. Isn't that correct? Or music, yeah, okay. The back door there from the overhead shot, is that an area that guests would be coming and going from or accessing?
Gonna go in from the courtyard. The back door is mostly for like the caterers, people bringing in food.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, for the caterers, is that what you said, and bringing in food? Okay, thank you.
And then I know I either attended or watched it online, that particular meeting, and with alcohol, there's going to be a peace officer there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And let's see. And then a question for Brandon, I think, please. Thank you, sir. Where is the nearest, or where are the nearest entertainment indoor locations?
Great question. See if I can.
There's none in this particular unit, right?
No, sir. I can't zoom out too far on that map. You've got another one that is down at the shopping center where Rita's is.
Yes.
Right next to
I
Rita's.
remember that one, yeah.
You have another that is over in the Rios shopping center. Next to, it's going in over by Family Dollar. You have another one that's over just on the south side of 410. Amazing Play, that was one of the first ones that we did. It's on the access road just south of 410, kind of in front of the HEB parking lot. The council did just approve a continuous SUP for entertainment indoor uses over at the West Loop Business Center. And so that was a continuous SUP that allows for multiple ones. Obviously, we'll look at traffic impact and other things. And that's those are the entertainment indoor SUPs that with the specific intent to allow for a special event center. But entertainment indoor, it kind of covers a few other entertainment activities as defined by the code. But in terms of SUPs that are classified as entertainment indoor, those are the ones that are coming to my head right now.
Okay, thank you. I like the fact that they are spread out like that. I don't know if that was, I think it was just, not on purpose. It probably just happened that way. Yeah. But again, I do agree that corner there is a good setup for that. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
Brendan, I was just wondering if you made Mr. Anugra aware of the multiple problems with the owner of that property and that he may potentially have problems himself.
Yes, ma'am. We've discussed that, and he's aware of the code violations that the city has identified and will need to be fixed before he gets a certificate of occupancy.
And that he may have to end up doing them himself because the owner's not too cooperative?
Potentially. He's under the understanding that they have to be done. Some of those issues involve fire. They involve, building construction that occurred without a permit. So, we have to kind of reverse engineer all the permits, and obviously the fire department, there's improvements that are needed to the fire suppression system. So, and he's aware of all those.
And then I just wanted to ask Mr. Anugra if he had any other business like this and any experience?
No, ma'am, I don't have any other business like this.
You're just going to give this a try?
Yes, ma'am.
Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I have a few more questions, Mr. Anugra. What's the maximum capacity of that? How many people can you hold in that facility?
I know last week when we were here, they said they're going to look it up and give me the number. But
Okay.
actually, look up, there's some app that you can use. So after the meeting, after the hearing last week, I went home, did some research, based on the size of different size of space that you have. And that one was showing me for 450, but I'm not planning on doing all that.
450
Yes.
people can fit in this space?
That's what the app says,
Wow,
but I'm not planning
that's a lot.
on, doing anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then your days and hours of operation?
Mostly all the stuff happens on the weekends.
Just on the weekends?
Yeah.
But if you had a party during the week, you would go ahead and...
If somebody actually, want a birthday party during the week, that,
Okay.
if that's
So
what
you're
they
going to
wanna
be
do.
flexible. It won't be just the weekend?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Those are my questions. All right. Any other questions from the dais? Okay. Thank you. This is our first reading, so at the next City Council meeting on March the 17th, we'll bring your SUP back for a second read and a vote. Okay? Thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here this evening. All right. Then moving then back to 8.1, regular agenda. Ms. Posley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance amending the Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Article A11.000, Water and Sewer Fees, Section A11.001, generally to revise the effective dates, providing for an effective date and revisions with publication as required by law, and providing for conflicts of provisions.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening again, Ms. Moritz. We're glad you're here.
Good evening, and thank you. And this is a housekeeping item. This is to consider approval of an ordinance which will revise our code, specifically water and sewer fees, to revise the effective dates of our current rates. As you know, in 2016, the city obtained certificates of obligation to replace both of our water wells, and in order to do that, we had to increase the water and sewer rates over a period of 3 years. The City Council decided that at the end of those 3 years, the water and sewer rates would be revisited to determine if further rate increases were needed. This past year was the last year for those planned rate increases. And during that 3-year period, staff has been reviewing the rates and system needs and have determined that a rate increase this year is not needed. The review of the system did reveal that increases will be needed in the future. However, staff would like to convene a committee to study the current system needs assessment, rate structure, and financing options before making any recommendations on rate increases to the City Council. So the revision just has to do with the language of the code. And so basically what it says right now is we're going to be charging these rates starting with the October 2018 billing period and through October of 19. We're just taking that out to say this is the rate. And so you can see the change in the table here where it says FY 18-19. It's just going to say this is the charge. Same thing for each one of the little tables that's in that part of the Appendix A fee schedule. So instead of FY 18-19, it's just this is the rate. And it goes through each one. And so under this section C, we also had to change that. And so instead of giving a year, it's just going to say provided effective after publication is required by law. So there's no fiscal impact at this time. However, rate increases will probably be required in the near future to pay for repairs and improvements to the water and sewer system. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So let me open it up then to our residents and guests here in our chambers to see if you have any questions or comments on this particular agenda item. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. My name is Philip Campos. I'm from Castle Estates.
Okay.
I was noticing on the presentation, great job on this, that you would plan to have committees to assess the future needs. I'd like to volunteer for that committee.
Okay.
Again, my name is Philip Campos, and I live in Castle Estates. I do have a background. I am a CPA as well as familiar with coming up with rates.
Okay.
So look forward to that.
Thank you very much. Do appreciate your volunteer spirit. Okay. Anyone else have a question or comment on this particular agenda item? Okay. Seeing no one else, then we'll go back to the council for their questions. Melinda, so this is like twofold, really. The first one is just to make these housekeeping changes and not be specific on the year, but be general. Is that what I'm understanding? And that's really what we're doing with this ordinance. But then as a secondary, you want to form a committee that would look at the rate changes and make recommendations to the council in the future. And what is that timeline?
We're hoping to bring this item to the City Council in July. We're still working with our rate consultant, the Waterworth Company.
Right.
And I'm not sure that I need a committee or not. Probably put one together just to look at the overall picture, but I'm not ready to bring that to the City Council just yet.
The committee? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so that's on hold. So this is just, okay. And then I was going to say, this is just for the Leon Valley water customers.
Yes.
Because there's me and a couple other citizens that are on saws. And can we ever get a comparison, side-by-side comparison between the city of Leon Valley water customers and the city of San Antonio water customers? And I think there's about a third of us residents.
I can. I mean, I can bring you both rates. The problem is neither system are the same. So I'm going to be giving you rates that aren't based on an apples-to-apples comparison. Their customer base is tremendously huge compared to Leon Valley. We only have 2 wells. They've got multiple systems. So their rates are based on what they need for their system, and our rates are based on what we need for our system, which is so much smaller.
So it's not like consumption rates. We can't compare 10,000 gallons to 10,000 gallons?
They have rates for that, and we have rates for that. But if you compare the two, you're just basically looking at what the rate is. If we were to, let's say we made the rates exactly like saws. We're going to be exactly like saws. Are we collecting too much? Are we collecting too little? Saws has based their rates on what they need for their system. We have to base ours on ours. We can't compare ourselves to Chavano Park. We can't. None of the other cities has the same system. So basically what we do is we go back and we look at, all right, what do we need for the future? And I think I brought that up at the town hall meeting. I think we need like $20 million over the next 20, 30 years in order to repair and maintain our system. SAWS has a totally different, and in fact, they're even under a consent decree right now for their sewer system.
Sure, that's right.
And that was one of the reasons we waited till now to bring this to you, because I was not sure what SAWS was going to do as far as their sewer rates were going to be. And so if they were going to increase them, then of course we would have had to increase our sewer rates as well, because they treat our sewer. And so I finally got an answer from them that said, nope, we're just increasing water rates this year, not sewer rates. And so that's why we were ready to bring it to you.
Okay, so this is just water. Okay. So we'll put that aside, but will you be able to show either the committee or the council like our history?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, our history and how much we raised it and that kind of, and for what? I mean, I know we borrowed the 1.6 million for the 2 water wells. That's separate from the water rates, but okay. It's just a mystery to me. I can't figure out, how we compare, and I'm always curious about that. Okay, yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
I would also like to see the comparison between SAWS and Leon Valley. And I know it's not apples to apples when they have different systems, but it makes a difference to the citizens when they're paying a lot higher rate than SAWS, especially if you're looking at moving into Leon Valley and you find out, oh, the water rates are 3x, then I wouldn't move here. I would move to somewhere else that's cheaper, if that's what it came down to. And has there been any thought or talk of approaching San Antonio and having them take over managing our wells, because they have so much more resources and so many more customers? If they absorbed our wells, would it make it cheaper for us?
It would not. Number one, the last time we asked them, which was a year and a half ago, they were not interested in purchasing our system, period. They've got so much going on with their own system. And so they weren't interested. And so then you look around, you see, is there anybody else interested in it? And we could not find a buyer for it. The second thing about that, what was the second part of your question just now?
It was about them purchasing it was the second part. The first part was
comparing
the rates between the two.
Comparing the rates.
I believe I looked at some, there are several people that are complaining in the summertime about such high water bills, and I started looking at that, and I think the first 10,000 gallons, it was pretty even, but after you go past that, then the multiplier is quite a bit more.
Yes, we're on a tiered system, so the more water you use, the more expensive
the higher the rate is per 10,000.
But the problem, like I said, with that, we'd be happy to bring the comparison to you, and I will show you. We run about neck and neck now. We're still a little bit lower than SAWS. They have higher water supply fees than we do, and so there's lots of other little fees encompassed in theirs than there are in ours. But even if we were to go above SAWS, if it's required by our system, we're going to have to do it to get the repairs done, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
And just one other thing. I thought I read that SAWS has a higher commercial fee.
They might. I'll have to take a look.
And that's, I don't know. I mean, that's, we've got commercial rates too. So I guess I'm just curious as to how that would be.
We just increased our commercial rates. Was it last year?
Was it last year? I think it was. I think we did.
The problem with doing that to the commercial, obviously you want to make make theirs as good as you can, but they're not, the commercial people are not the ones that are putting the peak demand on our system. It's the residences that are. If you look at aside from the restaurants and aside from the apartment buildings, which are also being charged into the commercial tier, if you look at just a normal business, they have a sink and a toilet, and they go home at 5. So if you look at a residential home, they've got 2 bathrooms, they've got the dishwasher, the washing machine, they're taking a shower, they're cooking food. There's a lot more peak demand going on with residential than there is with commercial.
Yeah, I was just thinking of like maybe the sprinkler systems, and I thought the tier was like 0 to 500,000 gallons, and then 500,000 gallons up for the commercial. I mean, have we thought about tiering that even?
Yes, we did. In fact, when we had that rate consultant before, that was one of the items that we looked at. And what was decided by the council was to tier their irrigation.
Their irrigation, okay. It's a complicated, yes. And let's see, let me hear from the council, Mr. Campos, but we'll hear from you as well. Yes, Councilor
They did do comparisons at the time we were doing it a few years ago. And at the time, we were lower than SAWS. I remember you complaining a lot about it. But anyway, what I was wondering, if SAWS is responsible for the sewers of the area that they have the water, do they have to replace the sewer mains and things?
No, they just treat our sewer. Right. They don't own the mains. We own the mains.
Okay, so we have to do all of the things, whether they're SAWS or Leon Valley.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, we don't take care of SAWS water mains.
But the sewer is all Leon Valley.
Correct.
Right. All right. Any other questions or comments from the dais? Okay, Mr. Campos, you had I'll certainly allow you to come and make your comment because you.
Thank you. So partially the committee should be charged with looking at not only the rates, but maybe how we can help the citizens that are complaining about a high usage. Maybe there's a way that we can provide as a city incentives to use more efficient toilets or other apparatus at the city's water system. They also have things that you can strap onto your meter to see whether or not it's moving, where you can't see it while all the water's turned off. As well as they also have a very active meter replacement program. So maybe some of our meters may need to be replaced to give more accurate readings for those citizens. So those are things that could be considered at this committee level and provide some recommendations.
Okay, thank you. I know Ms. Moritz is going to bring that to us, so we're just going to revise the ordinance accordingly as you just presented. So, and I know we have incentives for toilets and
we have the
shopping,
low flow toilet, high efficiency washing machine, the Zero Escape, and the Rain Barrel.
Right.
And then we do go out and we provide free home water audits. And so we will go out there and we will check to see that if your meter's moving or not. So we're doing a lot for those citizens. Plus, we created that affordability tier last time. So if you keep it between 0 and 3,000 gallons, you're getting the lowest rate that you can.
Okay, very good. All right. This is a first read, so we don't have a vote this evening, but we will take this up at the next City Council meeting, which is March 17th. All right. Moving then to agenda number 8.3, discussion and possible action on the Lions Roar newsletter policy, sponsored by Mayor Riley and Councilor Hody. And City Manager Kinsler is here this evening to present. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. What I did is just listen to the minutes from the last meeting in February so I could ensure that I got everybody's input in the new contribution and content policy, and this is what I came up with. You have it in front of you. I don't think I need to read through every one of them again, but I will certainly stand for questions. You've already seen this. This is just the edited version.
Okay. All right.
I will stand for questions.
Yes, I'll again, with our procedure that we have in place, we'll ask the citizens if you would have your comments, and then we'll have the council discussion. Ms. Joseph, good evening and welcome. And there is, we just have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So if everybody wants to kind of renumber that, just so we'll be on the same page. So that would be 5, 6, 7, just so that'd be all right with y'all? 8, 9, 10, and then 11. Okay, thank you. Ms. Joseph, good evening and welcome.
I was just going to ask if you could hold these up on the screen a little bit longer.
Sure.
So people can read them.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't I, while y'all are reading it, because we've had the opportunity to read it in our packet, let me go ahead and ask the council for questions, and then we'll go back to the citizens if you have any other questions. But number 5 on the promotion of the specific businesses, is that, I don't know why I couldn't remember that, but that's what it said, number 5, about using EDCD money and putting in a promotional page.
That was the discussion that we had when I listened to the minutes.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
It was actually my suggestion.
Okay, all right. And then on number 9, on the newsletter submission.
Go to number 9, please. Thank you.
This deadline was today, Tuesday, at 6 o'clock, and I'd like to change that to the second Tuesday rather than the first Monday. And I'll tell you why. It's like I can't ever... Just not having a deadline on a Monday is so much easier to have that extra day. And I don't think it's going to make that much difference, but I'd like the council to consider the second Tuesday rather than the first Monday as the deadline. I actually didn't have to ask for an extension for once. So anyway, just a...
Mayor, you couldn't be in this one anyway, since you're running for council.
Actually, we're still under the old.
Under the old one.
We have not adopted this yet.
Right.
But if it were adopted
But if you adopt it
today,
this evening, then yes, I
Right.
understand that.
Yeah, I just, instead of the first Monday, just the second Monday. Well, everybody's deadline would be, because first, I don't know, Lisa said it was today at 6.
So did
and
you say the second Monday or the second Tuesday? I thought I heard.
What is today? The first Monday, the first Tuesday, not the second
Okay,
Tuesday, the
that's
first
a-
Tuesday.
that's a lot more
I'm sorry.
helpful. Okay.
I'm sorry, that was my
So you just
error.
want to move it
From
up one
Monday
day?
to Tuesday,
or back
yeah, just
day.
one
Okay.
day. It really made
Okay.
the difference for me this time, and
Good.
And I really appreciated it.
Good.
Just get that extra. Mondays are like a day without sunshine at my office. It's always kind of crazy. So, any other questions or comments from Councilor Hody?
Ms. Kinsler, going back up to, I'm sorry, Crystal.
I'm just trying to make a change. If the council agrees. Okay.
I'm fine with the Tuesday. Going back up to, was it 8 that has about the business and the coupons and all that?
That's
that's number 5.
6 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
5.
Number 5,
Okay.
yeah.
You read that one closely. Make sure you like that.
Yeah, the if advised by the Economic Community Development Advisory Group. Would you kind of explain what your thought process is on that and how that would, for example?
Yes, so the city attorney last time cautioned us against advertising for businesses, and I asked the city attorney at the time about possibly using the 1/8% that's dedicated specifically to economic and community development for that, and he said he would research it. And so that's why I put that in there. So if we were to get some of the funding from the Economic Community Development Advisory Group from that board, and the council were to approve that, then could we advertise businesses on that page in the Lion's Roar? Do you remember, Mr. Erkan, you said you would research that?
I'm sorry.
Number 5.
That's
yeah,
okay.
Number 5.
We're on number 5.
Okay, give me just a second to read this. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a novel approach, and honestly, I did, look at it, and like I said, it's a real novel approach. And so they're
Come up with those.
yeah, you sure did. And so that I think there's an argument to be made that you could do it. But I don't have a concrete, I don't have an attorney general's opinion or a case or something like that.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Urquhart, I was just wondering, how is this going to work? I mean, like, who's going to put together this piece of paper advertising businesses? Is it going to be the EDCD? Is it going to be?
Mayor, as I said, it's a novel approach, so I think
I can answer
y'all
that.
will be creating,
Okay, I just.
you'll be like that old TV show, Star Trek. You'll be boldly going where no city's gone before.
We do that a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I guess we don't have the cost, but would it be every Lion's Roar or just one, or we don't know. It doesn't
So
say.
all I put is, if advised by the Economic and that was my vision, is that they allocate an amount of money for the 4 editions of the Lion's Roar every year, and then you do your business page that way. And that was me responding to the city attorney when he said that we couldn't advertise businesses, and I said, well, what about this, if we use this pot of funds?
But yeah, and just
then-
to clarify, I always caution that when you're advertising anything, there's a question about, is this a commercial? How open is it? And so typically cities do not get in the business of in a newspaper such as this, it's limited to public information. And so then once you start opening it up to the private sector, whether it be citizens or businesses, you start making it a public forum.
Right.
And I think you could have the same problem, if you use it in this way as well. But I want to be clear. I didn't say you couldn't do it. I just want to caution you that you start creating a public forum that you may lose control over.
So that's why we added in, and it was a gentleman up here in the front, and I wish I could remember who it was, but I thought he had an excellent point and included it. I can't remember who it was.
Was it Mr. Power?
Yes, it's Mr. Powers, exactly who it was. And so what we talked about on the business page for the economic development business page, and by the way, to answer your question, the person who would be doing this would be the business relations director, because they would know the newest businesses that were in town. And so what the thought was is that if you advertise the newest businesses, and Mr. Power, I really liked his response, and he said, if you're going to do that, then just make sure that you're mentioning all similar type businesses in the city, so that everybody that does, indoor entertainment are all listed. And so that's why the wording that you see up there. That way, we're not leaving everybody's included.
Supposing we had a restaurant.
So then you would have to name all restaurants in Leon Valley. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that would work.
Yeah, it's just.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Hody.
You just strike that all together if you want.
Yeah, I think.
I like the idea, but
Yeah.
implementation
is
Sure.
is tricky. Yeah, because we don't want to
No.
Yeah,
cross that line, right?
I think, the implementation, you probably are going to need to be more reflective as to exactly how this is going to work, because in addition to the legal issues, you've got the practical problems that you're identifying right now. Like if you have a new restaurant and you name all of them, you might take the entire Lion's Roar to.
Well, I think, if you say this is a new sit-down restaurant in Leon Valley, dine-in restaurant or whatever, this is a new fast food, I think you could identify them in a different way.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that it's just this number 5, I would think, needs to have some
a policy of its own.
Yeah, a policy of its own that's been deliberated by, all the stakeholders.
Sure.
And your city attorney.
And we can either do that, or you can just actually leave number 5 as no promotion of specific businesses will be allowed, period, and strike all the rest of it, if that's what you'd like.
Yes, Councilor Hody.
Certainly that would be the simplest thing
Easiest
to do.
thing to do,
Safest.
right?
But my only thing about it, and maybe the Lions Roar is not the media for it, was the idea that we were going to get businesses in Leon Valley's names out there so that we could, we've got, Captain Kirk's Ice Cream Planet, there. Well, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I had to continue that theme. It's your fault.
Star Wars, Star Trek.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Counselor Charles.
I think the implementation of that and taking it from a public to taking it from a private government paper to a public is something that we did not want to do. So probably just the first sentence.
Ended at the first sentence.
For now.
Certainly easier on staff, a lot less work on staff. We were just trying to promote Leon Valley businesses.
I would agree with that and maybe work at something toward the weekly newsletter that maybe the stakeholders and the attorneys could help implement there, because that's already being done.
Are you talking about the e-news?
The e-news.
Okay. So the e-news, Mayor, Councilor Alcacer, the e-news is a great idea. The problem is the e-news has 600 subscribers. The Lions Roar goes to every household in Leon Valley. That's the difference. So, but it certainly start there.
That's a start.
Absolutely.
Just keep the first sentence, but then, have a goal of working on a policy that may achieve.
I can give that project to William Cox in a minute. That's not a problem.
And bring it back. Okay. So.
Okay, so for now, you want me just to leave the first sentence in number 5 and strike the
Yes,
rest,
please.
right? Okay,
I believe
we'll
that's
do
the
it.
consensus.
Okay.
And then I believe we.
That's
can-
the consensus, yes.
Okay, but I believe we can vote on this tonight. This is.
Can you get the
Well-
space between mayor and city councilor out of there because it changed pages?
There's not a first or second read, so what's
And
the
then
pleasure of the
tab over
council?
the
Yes,
1,000.
Councilor Alcacer.
I move that we approve 8.3 as amended.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve Agenda 8.3 as amended with number 5, just the first sentence, as Crystal just did. Any further discussion?
Go.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it.
8 needs to be moved over then.
Number 8 needs to be fixed. It was way.
Oh, it was way over? Okay, all right. Then moving to the next agenda item 8.9, or just 9, citizens to be heard.
Needs to move in that. She needed to move 8 over.
Any other
Yeah.
citizens or guests in our chambers that would like to address the council? Please come forward. Okay. Seeing no one, then if there's no objection, we move to adjourn at 7:59 on March the 3rd. And we stand adjourned, and we'll see you on March 17th, and hopefully this Saturday at Earthwise. Good evening.